A roundup of the latest news now. Here are our top stories. 3 months after contracting COVID-19, the Prince of Wales has lost his sense of smell. Footballer Marcus Rashford successfully campaigns for a government U-turn to keep free school meals. We'll be joined by the player himself and PFA CEO Gordon Taylor. US President Donald Trump issues statements on systemic racism in the US. And how are the homeless coping with COVID-19? We'll have a special report. First to the Prince of Wales, who joins me from Birkhall, Aberdeenshire. Your Royal Highness, thank you for joining us. You largely recovered from COVID-19 almost 3 months ago, but we understand that you're still struggling to regain your sense of smell. Is that right?
Yes, that's right, Bob. It's been a difficult experience, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone.
How have you been managing the situation?
Well, Camilla and I have agreed that, with many of our staff furloughed, that I shall take over horse manure clearing duties at our stables, given my apparent immunity to foul odours. So it does have its advantages. I can only assume that others may find similarly beneficial uses of this condition.
How else have you found it useful to not be able to smell?
Well, let's just say any adverse effects of other people's flatulence, or worse, are a thing of the past.
The Prince of Wales there, updating us from Birkhall. Now to Manchester United forward Marcus Rashford's successful campaign to persuade the government to maintain free school meals. I spoke to both the player and PFA CEO Gordon Taylor earlier to find out more. Now, Marcus, I understand that this issue is very personal to you, as you grew up in a household that relied on free school meals.
That's correct, Bob. My mum was a single parent working long hours to bring up 5 kids, and I just couldn't allow the government to throw that away, because I know how it affected us.
Gordon, why do you think we haven't seen footballers take a stand on important issues like this before?
It's complicated, Bob. No easy answers to that. The Premier League's resumed and players have been wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirts and taking a knee, so, we're getting there.
Gordon, you've been CEO of the PFA since 1981. That's coming up to 39 years. You've announced plans to step down at the next AGM, but the earliest that can happen is November. Not many organisations or even dictatorial governments have people in positions of power for that long. Do you think your resignation is overdue?
Fuck off.
Please, no foul language on this show. You're both amongst the UK's highest earners. Gordon, you make £2 million a year. Marcus, you make £10.4 million a year. Marcus, you were involved in a campaign earlier this year which raised more than £20 million for charity. Gordon, what have you done for charity?
I donated £500,000 to the NHS and charities in April, so there.
I see. Gordon, what other campaigns can we expect professional footballers to spearhead and use their fame for positive change?
No comment.
Marcus, Gordon, thank you very much indeed. To the United States now, and in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Donald Trump has made statements about systemic racism in the US. We were given exclusive access to the interview. Mr. President, do you think there is a systemic racism issue in the United States?
Well, I don't know. I'd like to think there is not.
We appear to have a problem with black men being routinely and unlawfully killed by the police, for example. Is that not evidence of a systemic issue?
Okay, let me correct that. Unfortunately, there probably is some. I would also say it's very substantially less than it used to be.
The figures don't really back that up, Mr. President. In 2019, 1,098 people were killed by U.S. police nationwide, of which 24% were black people, despite only constituting 13% of the population. Well, maybe that's because they commit more crime. I don't know. Mr. President, we have evidence that deaths in police custody for black people are higher than for any other race taken into police custody, so the figures seem to suggest systemic issues independent of involvement in crime. All right, can we wrap this up now? Non-essential shops reopened in the UK earlier this week, including cut-price clothes shop Primark, which saw long queues of shoppers waiting for branches to open, with some waiting overnight. One of those in the queue was Anthony Kay, who is homeless and issued the following statement in a bid to draw attention to the plight of homeless people during the COVID-19 crisis.
Virus came from China, try to steal your mind's elation. Homeless peeps in London dream of an empathetic nation. And if you want these kind of dreams, it's social isolation. Seems like the end of the world and all of Western civilization. The sun may rise in the east, at least it's settled in a final location. It's understood that St. John's wort sells self-isolation. Pay homeless charities very well to break the spell of aging. Death sets in, no next of kin, that's the reality we're facing. No food in the morn, clothes are all worn. Dream of social isolation. Dream of social isolation. Lockdown unfurls here and all around the world, a scary fucking situation. You're all inside thinking it's a rough ride, getting high on information. Well, I'm just asleep on the boulevard, it's self-isolation.